Here, Kona, Hawaii. To expand on the last video I had, talking about the real cost of boat ownership. You have taxes, insurance, maintenance, and moorage. And of course, when you purchase a boat, you're going to want to register or document it. A lot of people use Delaware to document or register their boats. And the reason they do that, there's no sales tax in Delaware. And the entire fees for registration are about $600. Again, if you put a boat into charter, there's no sales tax as well. Of course, when you take the boat out of charter, then the sales tax are levied. And it's easier to sell a boat if it's documented. So when your broker goes to list your boat, it's much easier in the listing to have it documented. Oh, in 1917, we had the Jones Act, enabled to protect the boat builders here in the U.S., and they levied a 2% customs duty on any boats coming in from Europe or Asia. And the way to figure that out is you have a customs value. It's determined by your surveyor, any of the items that are built outside the U.S. It may not be the same as the valuation survey, but your customs value will be a lesser amount depending on what kind of vessel you have. Again, if you bring a boat in from Europe, you're going to have the VAT tax, and that can be between 16 and 20%. Most boats that are delivered into the States have already had that tax levied, so you're not going to pay it twice. The other thing that you're going to have to look at for boat ownership is insurance, and how much you're going to pay for insurance. And that valuation is also determined from your survey. So the value can be either plus or minus 20%. For example, you have a $300,000 boat. You can insure it for $240,000 to $360,000. A friend of mine bought a boat a few years ago, took it up on a flotilla up to Alaska. Flotilla was over. He and his buddy went on their own, went to a little bay. Coming out of the bay, they ran into a rock. Didn't hurt the boat, just scuffed up the paint a little bit. However, when the tide went out, the boat went down about 30 degrees on the bow. And when the water came back up, the water went in through a through hole into the head sink and sunk the boat right on the rock. And he and his buddy and grandson were out on the island watching the boat hopefully float, and it didn't float, and it sunk right there on the rock. So nevertheless, the boat was totaled, and he had put about $260,000 worth of insurance on a $180,000 boat. Insurance company paid the $260,000. He came to me and said, "Tim, I'm in the market for a boat." So we found a nice little trawler. He purchased the boat, and I said, "If you sink this boat, I'm going to be mighty suspicious." So what are the rates for insurance? Well, rates go from anywhere from 1.5 to 2% of the value of the boat. So on a $300,000 boat, that's going to be between $4,500 and $6,000 a year. I would suggest use major companies, don't use fly-by-night companies. Use the reputable ones so that if you do have a claim, make sure you get paid. And the last thing we'll talk about today is moorage. The moorage here in Kona, Hawaii, they pay a pretty penny here. It's a beautiful old marina. And when you do secure a berth, you're going to want to figure out what size you need, the length of the boat, the beam of the boat, the draft. Make sure that it's large enough for your vessel. Location has a lot to do with the price as well. And amenities, power, water, shower facilities, security. And of course, the longer your duration that you have the moorage agreement, the cheaper it's going to be. Usually allow about $500 to $1,500 a month for a vessel between 40 and 50 feet. So, I'm going to head off to the barbecue here. Got some oysters, lobsters, abalone. This is our last day here in Hawaii. Aloha!